Hey guys, welcome back. Today I thought we'd talk about movements through structures. More specifically, how to exit an area where there may be danger. How to exit a building where there may be something going on that you're going to have to leave. The notion of knowing where your exits are is something that's often told to us, but it's something that we seldom practice, and I think that this is a big problem. I think this is a huge mistake. Back in the 90s, there was a big nightclub fire, and this was in the news, and it was a big to-do because a lot of people died as a consequence of not knowing where the exits were. What happened, and what happens much of the time, is people will go in through a particular entrance, and should anything happen, they're going to look to exit the same way they came in. Here's where you get that bottleneck effect, where people often get trampled and people cannot get out, and then in situations such as fires, eventually they'll asphyxiate because of the smoke and what have you. It doesn't necessarily need to be a fire, but keep in mind that the most likely situation that we are to find ourselves in is a fire. So understanding fire safety protocols, I think, is an essential thing that everybody should learn. I learned this in elementary school. I learned about fire safety, and it's something that I still rehearse to this day. It's something I teach my children. I think that it's an important thing. Knowing where your exits are is the starting point. Okay, knowing alternative exits away from the area that you entered is very important. Because of that, people will rush to that area, they will bottle it up, and then you're going to have a problem. Now, this could be a civil unrest situation, this could be a fire, this could be many things. I remember, again in the 90s, when I was working in the nightclub business, somebody accidentally or purposely discharged a pepper gas inside the place. As soon as the effects started to be felt, people started to panic and everybody rushed towards the door. Fortunately, I had learned a lesson from the nightclub that was in the news, and we were able to send people through the different exits and avoid people getting trampled at the entrance. A couple of key things to keep in mind. When you're trying to exit a place, very often the safest place to be is following along a wall rather than in the middle of the flow. And this is even more important in stairwells. You want to be on the side of the wall and not on the side of the railing, because it is entirely possible you could get knocked over. So first step is knowing where the exits are, and you'll notice the exit signs. If I was in an unknown area that I'm not familiar with, and it might be an elaborate building or something, and I'm going to be there for some time, I would probably walk the route, noting how many doors along the way or how many landmarks I can figure out along the way should I have to crawl out of there because of the smoke that's building up in the place. I should be able to identify where I'm going and have some sense of the distance that I've traveled. Again, it is more likely going to be a fire, but this could be in a case of a civil unrest. This could be in a case where there's some type of rioting or looting or any number of things. As a matter of fact, me and some friends were watching one of the local fights. There was some interaction between the two teams that was not positive. The coaches themselves got into a fight and a big riot broke out. What did we do? We backed up towards the wall, followed the wall to the nearest exit, and left, because it was only a matter of time before chairs would start flying, and we didn't want to eat one of them. So, know where your exits are, follow along the wall towards that exit. If you're on a stairwell, stay on the wall side rather than on the railing. Okay, this is very, very important for exiting buildings. Let me show you a couple of techniques on how we can move people if we needed to. Okay guys, so in the situation that we're talking about, generally there's going to be people all over the place, and it may be necessary to move somebody out of the way, physically. Of course, you're going to try the route, excuse me, in the hopes that they'll move out of the way, but sometimes in this type of a situation they may not hear you, or they may be unwilling to move. At this point, we need to have physical skills where we can move a body. The general rule of thumb is you're not going to push them on top. The person will generally stay in place and just rotate around that. You're going to move them from their center of gravity, which is the hips. If somebody were in front of you but not facing you, perhaps they can't hear you because of the commotion, then it would be a matter of putting your hand on their lower back and pushing it. Mike, can you get your turn around for a second? By the way, guys, this is Mike. He's the owner of Tactical Solutions. This is his facility that we're filming at. And he was kind enough to let us use him as a prop. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so I'm here yelling, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. He's not moving out of the way. If I were to push him on top, he's going to stay rooted and he's going to stay there. He's not moving. But I'm going to come through the lower back with one hand, or both preferably, place him right on the low back, and we can move him quite forcefully out of the way. This works against even much larger people because we're moving him at the chassis. We're not moving him on top where he can rotate around that. Similarly, if he's, let me get you to stand this way. Similarly, if I needed to move him and he's from this perspective, I can push the hips from here and get him out of the way. And notice I'm not using a lot of effort. If I put a lot of oomph behind this, I can move him quite a bit. Now, if he's facing me, standing in front of me, pushing him at the hip might present a problem, especially if he's combative. All that I really need to do is use his hip as a hinge and open the door. Open the door. So I'm going to take my palm and put it on one side of his hip. With a stiff arm motion, I'm going to walk right through him, opening the door. So there you have it, guys. A couple of quick techniques on moving people should you find yourself in a chaotic situation where people are in your way. Remember, the strategy that we're talking about is for moving out of buildings where there's a problem. Guys, I hope you found this to be useful. If you find value in this, please help us spread the word. Share it with your friends. Hit the like button. Drop your comments. Let me know what you think. I'm Tony Torre. This is Mike with Tactical Solutions. And until next time, take care.